So get ready with me and I will tell you one story. So if you don't know, okay, so in Vegas, because we're 24-hour party city, people buy cigarettes, you can buy marijuana, and you can drink all night long. You can buy alcohol all day, all night. There is a requirement that we need to card everybody. It's the law, okay? So as far as Vegas being a 24-hour party city and you can buy alcohol whenever, all day, all night, eh, have fun. But they're trying to keep regulation, you know what I mean? And they don't mess around with sting operations, okay? So, this, I'm not gonna call him one gentleman, okay? This guy came in, he wanted to buy a pack of cigarettes. He said, "Can I have a pack of Marlboro Lights?" I said, "Okay." So I went to get it. He said, "No, no, no, I want the menthol." I said, "Okay." Then he said, "No, no, no, I want the crush." What is the crush? So I explained to him the crush and the crush menthol and the crush menthol lights and whatever. He obviously now a bona fide smoker, or else he would have known what I was talking about. So he said, "You know what? Never mind. Just give me a Marlboro Lights." I said, "Okay, fine." He said, I don't smoke cigarettes only when I come out, when I come to Vegas." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Most people do that, they come out, have a good time, smoke cigarettes, whatever, and then they go home and they don't do it." So yeah, I'll just probably have one cigarette and I'll throw it away. So I proceeded with the transaction, and after I scanned the cigarettes, I asked for his ID. Now, this brother was kind of bothering. He obviously was black and mixed with something else. He had kind of like a beard, okay? Not a full-on beard, not goatee, but he had a beard with salt and pepper. He obviously was well over 21. So when I asked for his ID, he was clearly taken aback. How dare I ask him for his ID? I said, "Really? My ID?" I said, "Yes, sir. It is law required that we are to card everyone purchasing alcohol and tobacco products." So he hands me an ID. It's from Malaysia. I don't know if it's like this with every other system, but our system, we need to have, if you look behind your driver's license or your state ID, there's a barcode. Some of you who are, from Mexico, and you have like a passport card type of thing with a bunch of letters and numbers, those are scannable on our system. If you have a QR code on your passport card, it doesn't work, or on an ID card. If most foreign countries, they have a QR code, or they don't have a code and it's not scannable at all, like the UK ID, those are not acceptable for us. We always ask for passport because that is all around universal. So I look at the ID and I say, "You know what, sir? I need a passport. This is not acceptable. I'm so sorry. I cannot take this ID." He goes, "I don't have my passport with me." And I said, "I'm sorry. If you bring your passport, then I can sell you the tobacco. Otherwise, I will not make the sale. I cannot. I apologize." He says, "That's my Malaysia ID." I said, "I understand, sir, but it doesn't have a barcode that I'm able to scan. I do see a date on it." I said, "You have another form of ID?" He goes, "No, I don't." I said, "Okay." I said, "Yeah, if you bring me your passport, then I will make the sale." He says, "What's your logic on the policy?" Or I told him it's policy and it's the law, right? He's like, "Why?" And this and that. He goes, What's your logic on the policy?" I said, "What?" I said, "It's the law and it's our company policy. It's our system that requires it." He goes, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I understand that, but what's your logic?" I said, "And what does my logic have to do with the law or the company policy?" I said, "Do you want the cigarettes?" He goes, "Yes, I do." I said, "Well, I need a passport, or I need something else that's scannable, another form of ID." He gives me his driver's license. I said, "Okay, this is driver's license." He goes, "It's expired." I said, "Oh, okay." But while he was trying to tell me it was expired, I said, "Okay, let me show you. I need to scan." So I scanned it on my screen. It shows it's expired. Now, because there's two forms of identification, they clearly state the expiration date on his Malaysia ID and his birth date. Okay. And then I see his driver's license. Okay. Boom. I'm willing to enter it in manually. I was trying to explain that to him, but he kept cutting me off and telling me that there's a flaw in the system, and he wanted me to explain my logic or having to card him, okay, and scan the ID. In the meantime, I'm trying to deter this conversation and try to continue with the transaction so I can get him out of here. Mind you, this is like almost 3 o'clock in the morning. So I proceed and I go ahead and I enter it manually. I finally get to telling him, I said, I'm going to enter it manually because you showed me 2 forms of ID and I'm going to go ahead and accept it, okay? I had to repeat myself several times telling him that my logic has nothing to do with the policy or the law. I told him it's my job. That's what I told him 3 times over. So as I proceeded the transaction, I saw that his birthday was the same as my baby daddy's. I was blowing my mind like, oh my gosh. So I said, oh, I see that you have the same birthday as my baby daddy. And he apparently was very appalled by the term baby daddy, okay? I guess he felt disrespected. Maybe he's a baby daddy, that's why. So he said, my baby daddy? This time he was standing at the credit card machine ready to pay for the cigarettes already. I said, yeah, my baby daddy. He goes, my baby daddy? I said, yeah, my baby daddy. He looked at me and he was like, oh, oh, oh my, I'm sorry, my love. Oh my God. Oh my, he just was so appalled by my ghetto-ness with the use of the term baby daddy, okay? I mean, like, what I gonna say, sperm donor? What I gonna say, my ex? And he obviously is my ex. Baby daddy sums it all. I had a kid by him, I was with him for a while, and he's my ex. You know what I mean? Like, it says I had a relationship with the guy, we had a kid, and now I'm not with him. You know what I mean? Like, if I just said, oh, yeah, I'm gonna say, my ex that I have a child with? No, that's the term I use. And to some people it's ghetto, but not to me. It says it all. I see nothing wrong with the word baby daddy. Oh, you have the same birthday as my baby's father. Anyways, he says, your baby daddy? And I said, my baby daddy. I did it like 3 times again. I was laughing again. I was joking around with him, like, well, I wasn't joking about using the term as baby daddy, but I was joking around and playing around because he was already driving me crazy because he kept asking me to voice my logic on the policy and the law. Anyways, I said, do you need matches for your cigarettes? He said, yes, I do. I said, okay. I gave him the matches. He looked at me, he said, well, your baby daddy? And I said, yeah, my baby daddy. He said, do you love your baby daddy? I said, no. He said, you had a baby by him? I said, so? Continued to pain. He just kept shaking his head like, oh, oh, oh. He was like, you're traumatic. You're traumatic. You're traumatic. Trying to pay. He couldn't concentrate. I said, well, sir, don't let the trauma leave with you out the door, okay? Looked at me. He shook his head. And I said, thank you, sir. He said, you're welcome and thank you for your services. And I said, you're very welcome. He goes, I'll be sure to give you a 10-star review. I said, I'm sure you will. I said, please enjoy your 1 cigarette and have a good night. He turned around, kicking his leg and everything. Man. And I was laughing. I wasn't laughing out loud. I was watching him walk away. Because he got upset for nothing. You're in Las Vegas. You have a Malaysia ID. I don't know why you go to Malaysia. Why you come to Las Vegas. Getting upset at me because I used the term baby daddy. I mean, it's normal conversation. You know what I mean? Baby daddy term is normal. There's nothing new, nothing surprising, nothing to be appalled about these days. I mean, if you're in a courtroom fighting over your child in a custody battle, you're not going to say my baby daddy and be all ghetto. I mean, where I work, we're not supposed to be ghetto either, but I mean, come on. There's a lot of ass and titties showing.